Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Blake Creamer, and in this podcast, I'm going to tell you how to win Week 13 of the fantasy season. Let's get to biz. Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here. It's the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We appreciate you here. Hope you all enjoyed your holiday break here. We got some hockey happening. We got the World Juniors starting up today. Some good stuff. Canada took the dub. They'd love to see it. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get back into some NHL action here as well. It feels weird when fantasy hockey doesn't happen when you're kind of dialed in the way we are here. I'm a little bit anxious to get going, but this will help here. As you can see, my one, my only, my everything, Nate Grudniblik, not with me here tonight. There's a good reason for that. Nate, he was over the holidays there. He started to get a little bit kind of shaggy, just wasn't shaving, let his hair go all over. And he wanted to look his best for the pod here today. So we decided to get a pre-pod haircut. And let's just say things didn't go as planned. Okay. I mean, I don't know what got into him. I think Nate was feeling a little adventurous lately, but that energy didn't help him today in the barber chair. He went in, he showed his stylist a picture of Jim Carrey, right? And he asked for a similar cut, right? The problem is he showed the stylist the wrong picture. He showed her Ace Ventura, like that pompadour, that thing going up. Like Nate, he could absolutely rock that, no problem. But he accidentally showed her a picture of Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber, Lloyd Christmas, right? He legit got a bowl cut out there. So Nate's he's licking his wounds right now. He didn't feel up to potting, and that makes some sense. I get it. Let the hair grow out a bit first, my man. Really, let's do that. But I should say, Nate's very sensitive about this type of thing, and it would be so kind if you, our Apples and Ginos listeners, would send your well wishes to Nate in the comments section. Let him know how devastatingly handsome he truly is inside and out. Mostly inside at this point, right until the hair grows back. But, he'll be back, smoldering away like nobody's business, like he does, right? Shout out to you, my man. But meanwhile, we got a show to do here, folks. I want to get into it. I'm excited to give you all the top ads and drops here for Week 13 in fantasy hockey. But before we do that, we got to talk about some Newsies. Newsies! Yep. We got some stuff going on. We got some bits and pieces. Travis Sanheim of the Philadelphia Flyers was pulled in the Flyers' last game by concussion spotters. Didn't finish the game. Rick Tocchet thinks he's going to be fine, so check his status prior to Philly's next game there. I think Sanheim has been useful, for fantasy hockey here. He's currently power play 2 with Cam York. He's a good block streamer, so if you got him in your IR plus, like you might be activating him here soon. Hopefully, over to Utah. Vegetable lasagna. Karel Vejmelka. He was a late scratch in the Mammoths' last game with an upper body injury, and Vitek Vanacek ended up playing the game on 20 minutes notice. So that kind of stinks for him. He played pretty well too. So it's kind of unknown when the issue happened there with Vejmelka, and we don't have a ton of info currently. So obviously Vanacek is the clear starter if Veggie misses some time. Could be worth a stream. So Utah's defensive environment, it's not terrible in terms of expected goals against, especially 5-on-5, but goalie consistency has been an issue so far this season. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there with Veggie, but keep an eye on Vanacek. Over in Carolina, Nikishin, he left the last game with an ankle injury. Rod Brindamore, not sure to the extent of that injury, but he was seen icing his ankle in the locker room after the game. So check his status there. He's running power play 2 currently. Good beefer as well. Good hits and blocks, stuff like that. Would be a great guy to have on your roster for this upcoming week with Carolina having a good schedule, and we'll get into that soon. Over to Washington, we got Wilson. Tom Wilson missing last game due to illness, so check his status prior to this game here. Meanwhile, in Washington, Ryan Leonard returned and had a nice little game. He skated in the top 6 and on power play 1. So you love to see it. I mean, even strength he played with Alexi Protas and Dylan Strome. That's great. We'll see what happens when Wilson does return. Where does Ryan Leonard kind of fit in there? But I like what I've seen. That was a great first game back for him. Over to Seattle. Vince Dunn, he got himself injured there with an I always want to say uppy body injury. It's not cool. All right? Upper body injury, right? And then you got the full Monty, Brandon Montour. He's out 4 weeks with, post hand surgery there. So, yeah, they got a hole to fill in the back end. Giggity. Riker Evans is the guy, right? Power play 1 could be some short-term value there, depending on how long Vince Dunn is out. So he could be worth a look if you need some offense from the D. All right. And moving over to Vegas, Jack Eichel still day-to-day. We don't have a ton of info on what's going on there. So, he's out, but it equals some opportunity for a guy like Noah Hannafin, who's now running power play 1 there in Vegas. So, just keep an eye on it. Obviously, we want to get Eichel back in the lineup as soon as possible. Sticking with Vegas, Aiden Hill is getting closer. He's still week to week, but when he does return, that's going to be an interesting situation. We got 3 goalies there that are all viable. If I had to guess, I think it would probably be Schmid that is the one that kind of gets moved down. I think, I don't know, it's hard to say. Hart and Schmid have both kind of shown a decent ability to, at the very least, back up Aiden Hill. And while he returns from injury, it's a significant injury for Aiden Hill. So something to keep an eye on. If I had to guess, I think it would be Schmid. Let's move on. The Pinto Bean. Shane Pinto, he's close to returning as well. For the Senators, he could play Saturday, but most likely he's going to play on Monday there for Ottawa. I think you get him back in your lineups. I like Shane Pinto a lot, even on power play 2. He's still getting a bunch of deployment, and he's generating a lot of stuff out there. He's kind of reminds me of a guy like Alexi Protas in Washington. Yeah, just a jack of all trades, very influential player out there, just not really getting the offensive deployment, which I'd love to see. Because I think Pinto could be, potentially a 65, 75 point player in the right situation, but it's not really going to happen under Travis Green, I don't think. Still, I do think Pinto has like 55, 60 point ceiling here this year, and that'll play. Over to LA, Darcy Kemper getting closer as well, was on the ice skating one-on-one with the goalie coach. Look for more updates soon there. We got Anton Forsberg doing stuff out here. He's a good 0G option while Kemper is out. Obviously, the LA has a great defensive environment, even though they can't score ever on the power play. Even strength, nothing. All right, it's not fun to watch over there in LA, I'll tell you that. But the defensive environment, great. So, yeah, Forsberg is viable while Kemper's out. Will Smith of the San Jose Sharks, the Fresh Prince, he's out week to week. He's going to be reevaluated in the new year. So Sharks power play without Smith is Tyler Toffoli, Wenberg, Eklund, Celebrini, and the Klingon, John Klingberg. I love that we're talking about this guy again. Yeah, that's how they're rocking, and they're doing stuff out there. Leo Carlson of the Anaheim Ducks missed last game as well. Sound like that was more precautionary than anything. He could play Saturday. I think they just wanted him to have a nice long break over the Christmas break here to get healthy. Sounds like he's a little dinged up. And then last thing here, Zach Werenski, nothing official yet on what's going on with him, other than he did have an x-ray and nothing is broken. So that's excellent news. He's still day-to-day, dodged a bullet big time though. So even if he misses this week, like we're still in a really good spot here for ZW. So nice to see. Columbus plays on Sunday, so check your lineups at that point. And then lastly, Elias Pettersson of the Canucks suffered a setback with his upper body injury. Frustrating year for the Canucks for sure. Petey's been playing better, but doesn't have a lot of help. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to talk about the Canucks. Dear God. Canucks are hopeful that he can return after the Christmas break here, but we haven't heard anything official. Okay. But that's it. That's it for the Newsies. We got to attack that schedule. It's schedule attack. All right. Let's do the thing. Okay. It's going to be an interesting week here, week 13. Off nights are all reversed, which is really strange. And it's a big, heavy week. So we'll get into that. Let's break it down day by day. Starting on Monday, we've got 11 games. Tuesday, 5 games. Wednesday, 10 games. Thursday, 8. Friday, 4 games. Saturday is your beefer with 13 games. And Sunday is 5 games. So interesting week for sure. Obviously, Monday and Wednesday are usually the off nights. Now they're the heavy nights here this week. So a little bit of a change. Just, make sure you're paying attention and setting your rosters and seeing where those gaps are, right? In total, we've got 56 games this week, and that is what we call a heavy week here. We do have a couple teams that play Sunday, Monday back to back. So if you have an extra ad that's kind of burning a hole in your pocket, you could add a player from Columbus or Seattle and, just basically get a game for free, right, on the Monday there. If you're interested in that type of strategy, there are 3 teams that have a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back to open the week. We got Carolina, Florida, and Vancouver. There are 8 teams that play Tuesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday off nights. And those are Carolina, Chicago, Florida, Montreal, New York Islanders, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Vancouver. There is 1 team with a Thursday, Friday off night back-to-back there, and that's Seattle. And we do have 2 teams that play Friday, Sunday, back-to-back. Not back-to-back. The Friday, Sunday off nights. And they are Florida and Vegas. That is going to be in play here. That's we're going to have to be relying on those teams at the end of the week, I think, just to dodge that 13-game beefer on Saturday. So, yeah. This is another one of those weeks where I think that you can likely get players in on heavy nights. We've got an 11-game Monday, a 10-game Wednesday. That's not bad, right? I feel like there's going to be some opportunity to get some players in, whether it's a defenseman maybe, or if you got some forward spots or some utility spots there, you might be able to pop a player in there. But yeah, in terms of strategy, I'll give you just a basic strategy. That's something that I like to use if I can, sort of what I would consider an ideal strategy in terms of your moves. So let's say you have 4 moves for your head-to-head weekly matchup. Right. Something I like to do on these busy weeks is look at who's front loaded in the week. So who plays 3 games in the first 4 nights. And those are the teams that I'm kind of interested in. Right. Because if you can get those players in on those busy nights, it's, let's say, 1 move and you could potentially get 3 games for that move. So, let's look at that. Right. And then just kind of see what that looks like. So set your roster, see if you can make it work. There are 4 teams that play 3 games in the first 4 nights, and they are Carolina, Nashville, Winnipeg, and Washington. So, just for fun, let's say you pick up a guy, Ryan Leonard, right? You're able to get him into those games. And then after the Thursday game, so Washington plays Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So after Thursday's game, Friday morning, you pick up a player from either Florida or Vegas, right? So you get that Friday, Sunday off night, right? So maybe like a Lundell or an Evan Rodriguez, or maybe a player from Vegas like an Ivan Barbashev, right? So that right there is 2 moves that you've made, and you get 5 games in total for that with 1 streaming spot. That's about as good as you can do, right? I mean, if you have more than 1 streaming spot, now we're really cooking, right? So you can start stacking games. Something I like to do if I have 2 streamer spots, I like to do 1 week-long stream if possible. So let's say you get Jackson Blake, right, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. Let's say you can only get him in for 4 games. Maybe you can't get him in on the busy Saturday. That's fine. So that's 1 move you've made, and you get 4 games out of it, right? And then you add that to the 5 games for the other 2 moves that we made that we just talked about with Ryan Leonard. Now we've added an extra 9 games played for just 3 moves, right? You see how this works? So this is streaming 101, folks, right? And I think, you could save that other ad for an injury, right? Or a Sunday Hail Mary, or maybe you're up really big. You can use that last ad for a player for the next week moving forward, right? That's basic streaming to me. That's how I like to stream. And as always, like I said, set your rosters, identify the gaps, and then pick up a player like defense or forward, whatever makes sense for your team. And it's worth saying sometimes defensemen are a little bit better. There may be a better option than a forward just because you can get them into more games. So, maybe 3 games of a guy like Artem Levshunov could be better than 2 games of Jackson Blake, right? And that's basically the idea, right? So you kind of have to do that math yourself based on your league settings. But again, set your rosters, fill those gaps, and just suffocate your opponent with games played. This is a great week to do that, okay? But that's how we get to biz. If you're over on YouTube, you can check out something I love to use. I'm going to give them a little plug here. Dauber Hockey Frozen Tools. It's a great place to look at your schedule, look at the off nights. To me, it looks really good as well. So I want to shout out Frozen Tools. That's what I use, and that's what you're looking at here on YouTube, okay? Again, before we move on here, your week-long streams, if you want to, you've got Carolina with 5 games. You got Pittsburgh, Montreal, Florida, and Chicago, all with 4 games and 3 off nights, which I'm going to get into in a few minutes here. But those are your week-long streams here for week 13. Okay. Now let's move into a section called Lowered Expectations. Yep. We are talking about the worst teams to stream from and potentially drop players from, right? And this week in particular, because there's a lot of teams that play a lot of games, right? There's a lot of 4-game teams. There's 1 5-game team. And then there's a couple teams that play 3 games with 0 off nights, right? And that's really, those are the players that we're looking at potentially dropping off of. But again, you know, all these teams that I'm about to talk about, they play Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. You could get these players in for the Monday and Wednesday. So I'm not saying you have to drop any of these players. We're just trying to identify kind of what's the tolerance of holding these players, maybe even on your bench if, on these busy nights, right? So let's get into it. There are 5 teams that play 3 games with 0 off nights, and they are Buffalo, Boston, Calgary, Edmonton, and San Jose, right? What's the cutoff line for the drops? Well, why don't you stick around and we'll tell you, okay? Let's start in Buffalo. We're looking at players like Joshua Norris. Josh Norris, Josh Doan, and Zach Benson. Those are all power play 1 options here in Buffalo currently. And yeah, that's you certainly don't have to get off those players. To me, Josh Norris, I'm holding Josh Norris this week. I don't care. It's not like he's playing a 1-game week and he's just giving us a bunch of zeros on the week. Even if I'm benching Josh Norris, I'm still keeping him. I think there's a lot of potential there. And you can't make me drop him. All right. But Josh Doan, Zach Benson, again, both getting power play 1, getting some top 6 deployment as well. I think they're droppable if need be. I mean, Josh Doan only has 1 assist in his last 5 games. His metrics, which have been good this year, like on the season, he's looking really good. He's 15th overall in individual expected goals per 60. But last 5 games, he's 212th. So yeah, it's a cold stretch here for Josh Doan. I like the player a lot. I like the dual eligibility. But if you have to drop him, you absolutely can. I think he'll probably be there if you go to pick him up afterwards. Zach Benson, another player I'm very interested in long term, but this week, he does have 4 points in 5 games, just under 16 minutes average time on ice. But this is a guy that's not shooting a ton. I'd love to see him shoot the puck a little bit more. And he does have access to good players there on Buffalo. Like right now, he's playing on the 3rd line with Ryan McLeod and Jack Quinn. Not too shabby, right? It was better. I liked it better when he was playing with Tage, but they got Peyton Krebs up there right now. That's fine. But I still think Benson and Doan can likely be dropped. I'm holding on to Norris. And then you got some defense options there. Matthias Samuelsson, Bowen Byram. Samuelsson has 3 points in his last 5. Bowen Byram has 4 in his last 5. I think they're both easy drops to me. I do like Bo Byram on the season. I think that's a player that I'm looking at streaming when Buffalo has a good schedule, but he's power play 2 right now. Yeah. I mean, he's got 4 points. I think 3 of those came in his last game. So it's just a little bit of a hot streak for him, but I don't mind dropping him. Over to Boston. We got some pieces here. Let's look at players like Nikita Zadorov, right? Who's actually spent some time on a bunch of rosters here this season, including my own. But I mean, he's a beefer at this point. He's a beefer with cheese, which means he gets he's getting a little bit of stuff there. He's got 2 assists in the last 5 games. But yeah, you're just getting him out there if you have peripheral weighting in your points leagues, or if you're in a bangers leagues. I think Zadorov is a good option. But for points leagues, I'm just not interested. Pavel Zacha and Elias Lindholm, I'm interested in holding for that power play 1, right? Lindholm for sure I'm holding because he's getting access to David Pastrnak at even strength as well, and Morgan Geekie, who's crushing at the moment and might never cool off for the rest of the season here. But Pavel Zacha, I think, is a bubble guy for me. He does have power play 1, and Boston's power play is pretty good. It's 6th overall in conversion on the year. So I'd like to hold on to Pavel Zacha. And he's also center left wing eligible. I like that. But if you need to get off of Zacha, I don't think that's going to be an issue if you do, right? I think it's not a must hold player at this point. But I am holding Elias Lindholm. Over to Calgary, you got Blake the Snake Coleman, Jonathan Huberdeau, and Matt Coronado. I think all of them can be safely dropped. But, shout out to Blake Coleman and Jonathan Huberdeau. These guys have been putting up some numbers as of late. Blake Coleman, 4 points in the last 5 games. 86 overall in shots to goal per 60, 43rd overall in individual scoring chances for per 60. He goes through these phases, right? But again, based off of massive efficiency for Blake Coleman, right? Shooting percentage is good. On-ice shooting percentage, hot. So, yeah, it's just he's like Old Faithful, right? He's a guy that has a good peripheral floor that can, score some points from time to time. Jonathan Huberdeau, 4 points in his last 5 games. But again, metrics terrible. Minutes are okay, but I just don't trust the Calgary offense. That's why I'm kind of signing off on a Matt Coronado drop here as well. Only 1 goal in the last 5 games for him. Numbers aren't even very good. So, yeah, I just think this iteration of Calgary, it's not really inspiring for fantasy just because of the lack of offense that they have there. It's been tough sledding for sure. Like this team, just digging in here, they're 27th overall in 5-on-5 goals for, right? That's gross, and their power play is second worst in the entire league. In conversion, it's just not a great place to be for fantasy. So, shout out to those players from recent production, but I'm not interested in holding on to them this week. Let's move over to Edmonton. We're looking at players like, good defensive options. Darnell Nurse, Matthias Ekholm. I think I'm holding on to Nurse. I like the peripheral floor there. I like the deployment. Ekholm, you could say the same thing. Honestly, I feel like, the metrics are even a little bit better with Ekholm. He's getting reasonable deployment, 28th overall amongst D-men and individual scoring chances for per 60 over the past 5 games. On-ice numbers, not bad, right? Scoring chances for per 60, 39th, and 41st overall in expected goals per 60 when he's out on the ice. I think he's kind of like a good 4th or 5th D-man. So if you're in a deeper league and he would maybe get picked up, if you drop him, I'd maybe hold on to him, right? I have some guys like that in some of my deeper leagues where, yeah, the metrics don't really make sense, or certainly the production doesn't match what I need from them. But if I drop them, there's literally no one better on the wire. So, yeah, something to think about there with Ekholm. You've also got some forwards here. Vasily Podkolzin, Roslovic is out there. He's healthy again. Obviously, they're playing on the second line there with, is Podkolzin playing? I just got to check here. Yeah. So it's Podkolzin, Jack Roslovic on the second line with Uncle Leon Draisaitl. So, I mean, that's a nice place to be at even strength. I do think that Podkolzin has taken a little bit of a step this year. They're certainly giving him more ice time, so I like that. He obviously brings the beef as well. He's a good beefer, so hit some blocks there. But I don't know. It's definitely not a must-hold player in a week like this. Neither is Jack Roslovic, so I'm good dropping both. I think Roslovic his value was really tied to, being able to play power play 1. And with Zach Hyman back in the lineup, Roslovic isn't going to get a touch there. So, yeah, good players in real life, not really going to help us out for fantasy too much, especially this week. And then lastly, we got the San Jose Sharks with some interesting pieces. We got the power play 1 options. I talked about that. We got Toffoli, Eklund, Klingberg. I'm trying to hold on to those players there. Toffoli in particular, this is a guy that his ice time has fluctuated the last couple of weeks that we've talked about it, but he's got 7 points in the last 5 games. Really nice stuff. 13th overall in shots and goal per 60, 24th overall in individual expected goals per 60. And, the on-ice numbers are crazy. Like he's 5th overall in Corsi for per 60 and 12th overall in scoring chances for per 60. Toffoli, when he's out on the ice, he's like a young Jeff Gillooly. All right. They're chucking pucks out there. They're knocking kneecaps off the hinges. It didn't even make any sense, but I don't give a damn. All right. I'm by myself. And that's how I get the biz. All right. But yeah, Toffoli's been playing with Wenberg and William Eklund. They've been generating a lot of shot attempts and some good scoring chances for as well. So I'm trying to keep Toffoli there. Eklund, I'm throwing in there as well. For him, it's 3 points in the last 5. Klingberg has 3 goals in the last 5. Nice stuff. Numbers are pretty good too. He's 4th overall amongst D-men and individual scoring chances for per 60, according to Natural Stat Trick. Crazy stuff. And then the on-ice numbers are nuts. He's 1st overall in Corsi for per 60, 1st overall in scoring chances for per 60, and 6th overall in expected goals per 60. So Klingberg, when he's out there, is generating a ton. The team is playing really well offensively with him on the ice. So kind of hard to drop a guy like that as long as he's getting good deployment, and he is like just under 24 minutes average time on ice in the last 5 games. I think you got to have him, right? There are a couple players on San Jose. We got Dmitry Orlov. We got Colin Graf. Orlov, I think, is an easy drop this week, although his on-ice numbers are pretty damn good as well over the last 5 games. Colin Graf, I mean, geez, 7 points in the last 5 games. He's playing with Celebrini, right? So it's Celebrini. He's just popping off, right? And the metrics don't really match. Like, he's 225th overall in shots and goal per 60 over the last 5 games, 48th overall in individual expected goals per 60. So he's getting some good chances, but he's being really efficient with his chances. He's shooting 45% over the last 5 games as well, 20% on ice shooting percentage. There's some aggression coming, right? So I'd love to hold on, but he doesn't have power play 1, and he's really popping off with his efficiency. So I think that there's likely some regression coming for Colin Graf. But it's a player of interest. Now, we definitely have to take notice of what he's able to do out there and the good chemistry he's got with Macklin Celebrini. All right, let's move on to the next section. It's called Crossing the Streams. Oh, yeah. Now, I'll spare you all. I've crossed the stream so many times without Nate, and I'm not going to do it tonight. All right. I want to save the crossing the stream story for the next time I'm on with Nate. So stick around for that. But yeah, let's just get into it. Let's talk about the best teams to stream here for week 13. And we've got a lot of good options. Obviously, right at the top, the Carolina Hurricanes, 5 games with 3 off nights. Really nice stuff. They play Monday, Tuesday, then they play Thursday, then they have the Saturday, Sunday back to back. So you're going to have to see how many of these games you can get your Hurricanes into, right? But I think because of what I've talked about on the Monday and the Wednesday, especially, I think you're going to be able to get some of these guys in. So let's look at some of the options out there. We're looking at Jackson Blake, Logan Stankoven. I'll throw Taylor Hall in there as well. These are kind of your best options for the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's throw Jordan Staal in there as well. What am I doing? We got to throw Jordan Staal in there. This guy's been popping off. So yeah, how would I rank these? I think they're all players, maybe save for Taylor Hall. I think Staal, Jackson Blake, and Stankoven need to be rostered here for this upcoming week. Logan Stankoven, he's playing top line with Sebastian Aho, which is really nice, but he's on power play 2. Jackson Blake, he's playing on the second line with Jordan Staal and Svechnikov, I think. But he's on power play 1. So both really good options, both going to get some opportunity here with Seth Jarvis out of the lineup, being put on IR recently here. So Jackson Blake, 4 points in his last 5 games. Metrics aren't great for him, but they have been in the past. They just aren't right now. I mean, he's 327th overall in shots to goal per 60, 91st overall in individual scoring chances for per 60. So that's nice. But on the season, it's a better story, right? On the season for Jackson Blake, he's 33rd overall in individual scoring chances for per 60, 48th overall in individual expected goals per 60. So this is a player that knows how to generate chances, does it really well. Hasn't been really doing it the last 5 games, but he's been scoring, right? He's got 4 points in the last 5 games. So it's just crazy to me how that works. We go through all this analysis and we're like, yep, this should happen. This should be happening. This shouldn't happen. But these guys it's such a weird game, hockey, like I've done some fantasy basketball in the past. I've done some analysis for fantasy basketball, and I just find that so much easier. It's so much more predictable, right? And there's less players you need to worry about. With hockey, I mean, it's so fast. These guys are skating around out there looking, trying to get a little rubber puck to go in the net. Like it's crazy. I mean, I love it. I love the challenge of it. But yeah, things like this, it's just sometimes it's really hard to explain without diving into like an insane level to understand what's happening. And then you can't understand what's going on in the guy's head, right? So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a challenge I love. Anyways, I see some of those things sometimes and it's interesting. But yeah, I would definitely prioritize Jackson Blake. I'd go Stankoven. Jordan Staal has 4 points in his last 5 games, and he's got power play 1 right now. Jordan Staal on power play 1. They're doing that out there. Thank you, RBA. And, the metrics are not great, right? But the deployment is better. And I think access to that power play, that's what you want to see, right? That makes him absolutely viable here for this week. Plus, he's great with his peripheral stats, right? Excellent hitter and blocker for a forward. So you could do a lot worse than Jordan Staal. I think Jordan Staal is absolutely viable for this upcoming week and should be rostered. So, don't at me. All right. You got to get this man on your squad. And then, Taylor Hall, I think, is kind of a deeper league option if you want to get. This is more like an accumulation play. So you're getting, 5 games of a guy that could chip away and potentially get you maybe 2 assists or like a goal and an assist in 5 games, plus, some shots and a couple peripherals, right? So that's more of that kind of play. But I do like the player offensively. He's just not getting any opportunity. And then you got kind of in that same vein, you got Keandre Miller, right? He's got 0 points in his last 5 games, but it's 5 games of a guy that's going to get some hits. He's going to get some blocks. He's going to get some shots. Maybe he gets some offense. I think I did that in the 5-game week with Gavrikov on New York. I picked him up in 2 spots and it ended up working out. He got an assist, or he got 2 assists in that week. And just kind of chipped away with some points. And I won both the teams that I had Gavrikov in. So it does work. It's kind of it's in line with suffocating your opponent with games played. And so a guy like Miller sort of does that for you. So anyways, Carolina, I think Jackson Blake and Stan Coven and Jordan Staal should be some top priorities for you. Let's move over to the next couple teams here. We've got 4 teams with 4 games and 3 off nights, and they are the Chicago Blackhawks, the Florida Panthers, Montreal Canadiens, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. So let's start in Chicago. Chicago could be a nice start for you. I mean, they don't play the Monday, so if you have a busy Monday, maybe Chicago's kind of a good start for you. They play Tuesday, Thursday, and then they have Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. So you should get them in for 3 games, right? And we're looking at a lot of their power play 1. It should still be available out there on your wires. And you're looking at players like Tyler Bertuzzi. You're looking at Toivo Teravainen. You're looking at Artem Levshunov, Andrei Burakovsky, a guy I've talked about in the past, the player that I'm interested in. And then you got Ryan Donato out here as well. He's playing kind of in the middle 6 and on power play 2. So it's not the same Donato that we saw last year with access to Bedard, right? And kind of getting prioritized. They got him in a different role this year. So I wouldn't expect too much. But in terms of these players, I think you got to kind of roll with your guys, right? And Tyler Bertuzzi, I think, it's been a slow stretch for him, but I'd probably rank him over the rest. Burakovsky, has 2 points in the last 5 games. Metrics not great. The honest numbers are okay. But none of these Chicago players are really ringing the bell right now in terms of under the hood. So we're basically just looking at opportunity plays and deployment plays. And in terms of that, Tyler Bertuzzi's getting over 19 minutes. Toivo Teravainen's getting over 18 minutes. Levshunov's getting 23 minutes plus out there and power play 1. And Burakovsky's getting over 18 minutes. So if you're going Chicago Blackhawks, I would go with the players that are getting the most minutes because none of the metrics really look good. Go with the players that are getting the most minutes and power play 1. And the way I would rank them there, I'll go Bertuzzi, Burakovsky, Teravainen, right? Actually, I'll throw Levshunov over. I'll throw Bertuzzi, Levshunov, Burakovsky, Teravainen. That's how I would roll there. And then Donato being the last player for Chicago. Let's move over to Florida. Definitely check and see if Ekblad is out there. Aaron Ekblad, he's 52% rostered. I think that's a player that can do something for you. He's got 5 assists in the last 5 games. Metrics not great, but, who cares? Florida's still kind of a wagon. Ekblad's on a 30-point pace this year. Yeesh. I mean, I remember there was a season where Ekblad was kind of he was in the conversation for the top 5 to 7 defensemen, right? Just a guy that was going to pop off, kind of like maybe a Zach Werenski type season, before he really popped off, like a 20-goal, 35 assist season, which would have been really nice for Aaron Ekblad, but he just doesn't have the foot speed. His game's very one-dimensional, right? Just kind of fire the puck. That's sort of where he's at. But still, it works for what Florida does here. So definitely check and see if he's out there. He's kind of on a little mini heater with 5 assists in 5 games. Love that. Sticking with defense there, you got Gustav Forsling as well, who I think, it's not a player I'm interested in. Again, it's more like a deep league option where you just need those games played in because Forsling is really not doing anything. And his ice time is kind of down a little bit. He's under 20 minutes over the last 5 games. So I'm not super interested there. But the forwards for Florida definitely have a little bit more interest in, and especially Anton Lundell. This is a guy that, yeah, if you grabbed him last week, you could hang on to him this week because, yeah, he's doing stuff out there. It looks really good. Lundell has 3 goals in his last 5 games. Metrics are mid, but that's fine. It's more about the deployment. 18 plus minutes over the last 5 games. Power play 2 could do worse, right? I think, yeah, this is a guy that's taken the opportunity presented to him and sort of ran with it to some degree. Lundell on the season, he's pacing for 64 points. That would be incredible. That would be incredible if Lundell got 64 points. I think it'd be a massive success for him. His age, like I think it'd just be a really nice stepping stone for maybe him to develop into even a better, maybe offensive player. So yeah, if he's out there, I think that's someone you probably should kind of get on your roster here pretty quick. We got Evan Rodriguez, we got Itulo Starnin, we got Mackie Samoskevich as well for the Florida Panthers. Samoskevich, check on injury there. He has been on power play 1 in the past. I don't think he will be, like, if he comes back from injury there. So just a guy to keep an eye on. He's kind of like a Zach Bolduc in Montreal when he's on power play 2. That's the way I sort of view Mackie Samoskevich as well. But I think of Florida, you're looking at Lundell with a bullet. That's going to be your huckleberry there for Florida. Over to Montreal, you got the professor, Mike Matheson. If he's out there, you got to have him. You got to have Mike Matheson in your roster. I know it's not the 60-point Mike Matheson that I hoped for, right? That I was championing for. Is that a word? Championing? I don't know how the syllables don't match up there. Anyways, yeah, that's a guy I was very interested in. I love the player, but when you get a guy with the talent of Lane Hudson here in Montreal, what are you supposed to do? You get Lane Hudson out on power play 1 and you figure out the rest on the back end. And I think Matheson's made a really good adjustment here. He's still a big minute defenseman, big time blocks, like definitely has offensive chops. Just he's not being put in a position to really use them. And that's fine. But I still think it's reasonable for him to, be on your squad, right? When you got a guy like this who you get the games in. Again, 4 games, 3 off nights. Montreal plays the same as Chicago. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. You got a big minute defenseman out there. Like the more you're out on the ice, the more chance you have to accrue stats, right? That seems simple, but that's kind of how I look at things sometimes. Especially when you're just trying to get some games in and chip away. So I really like Matheson there. Another player I really do like, I just spoke about him, Zach Bolduc. Right now, he's getting power play 1 out there. And this is a guy that can definitely put the biscuit in the basket. And now that he's on power play 1, we've seen this before, right? This guy's, he's not going to, kick the doors down in terms of his point pace. He's only on a 38-point pace. The minutes are up over last year, just over a minute. So that's fine. But this is definitely a guy that can do stuff if he gets consistent power play 1 deployment. And right now he is over Ivan Demidov. So I think Bolduc is a target, should be a target for you this week. Certainly get that Tuesday, Thursday in and kind of see where you're at. But I like Bolduc a lot. What are the underlying metrics for Bolduc? I got to check this out. So 3 goals in the last 5 games. Metrics okay. 202nd in shots on goal per 60, 88th overall in individual expected goals per 60. That's fine, right? Not as much as I'd hope to see, but yeah, this is a guy that's on power play 1 now. So I think that's sort of the idea behind the stream there. So yeah, that's what I like about Montreal. I mean, Philip Deneau is out there as well if you want to take a ride there. I don't really like the player's offensive talent, right? It's a better play in real life than for fantasy. Let's move on to the last team here with 4 and 3, and that's the Pittsburgh Penguins. And yeah, we got some bits and pieces there as well. I think Chris Letang, he's having a nice little stretch here. 2 assists in 5 games. Good ice time. I mean, metrics are whatever. But yeah, again, just another guy kind of like Mike Matheson, who's out there for decent minutes that can chip away with a few points and definitely some periffs. So you could do a lot worse than Chris Letang. In terms of forwards, you got Anthony Mantha, Justin Brazeau, Ben Kindle, and Rutger McGroarty. I think Mantha is actually a really nice piece. I like Kindle as well if he's on power play 1, but Kindle's been moved off power play 1 and Anthony Mantha has been put to power play 1. So I think that's the guy you roll with here. Mantha's had a nice stretch as well. 3 points in his last 5. Metrics are fine, I guess. His line is doing pretty well. I think he's playing with Tommy Novak and who the heck's this third guy on that line? Oh, Justin Brazeau. Yeah. So That line's generating a lot of shot attempts and scoring chances, right? They're just, don't really have the finishing ability. But you could do a lot worse than Anthony Mantha on power play 1 there in Pittsburgh. That Pittsburgh power play, at one point, they were number 1 in the league. Let's see where they're at now. Number 4, right? They're 4th overall in shooting percentage, right? In conversion. So still a really good power play. You're out there with Sidney Crosby. Get the biz, right? So I do like Anthony Mantha there. The other players, I mean, it's just ice time at this point. That's really kind of bothering me about them. Kindle's getting 15 minutes, 0 points in his last 5. Brazeau's playing under 15 with 1 assist. That's not great. Rutger McGroarty, he's playing under 13 with only 1 goal in his last 5. So I think you're probably going to have better options here. But Anthony Mantha, I'm definitely interested in. Let's move on to the next section of teams. We have 3 teams with 4 games, 2 off nights. They are New Jersey, Vancouver, and Vegas. Vegas, baby. Let's start in New Jersey. New Jersey plays back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, and then back-to-back Saturday, Sunday. So that's kind of an interesting schedule. You got guys like Dawson Mercer. You got Arseny Gritziak, and Brendan Dillon is your beefer option. Of those players, sure, I guess you could go with Dawson Mercer. I feel like there's going to be better options for you out there. But a player I'm actually interested in, Stefan Nason. I like Stefan Nason over here. It hasn't been great. Like, the ice time is really stinky. He only has 1 goal in 5 games. The metrics are not great, but he is 61st overall in individual expected goals per 60 over the last 5, and he's getting power play 1. And now power play 1 has Jack Hughes back in the mix. So yeah, this is kind of a wing and a prayer, right? But I think you could do a lot worse than Stefan Nason. And, if you are interested in getting Stefan Nason, you can pick him up for the Tuesday, Wednesday. If he does nothing, you just bounce him, right? At least you get 2 games for 1 move. It's not a complete waste. He also does hit a little bit, but I'd like to see some more deployment, better ice time for Stefan Nason out there. In Vancouver, you basically got almost all of power play 1, maybe all of power play 1 if Zeev Buium's still out there, not rostered. But you got Brock Besser, Jake DeBrusk, Marco Rossi, Connor Garland. These guys might all be on your wire, right? They're very lowly rostered here on Yahoo. You also got Evander Kane, who's getting power play 2. He's been okay this year. I don't have the nicest stuff to say. It's not an exciting team. I mean, Canucks get what they get through efficiency, and it's just not something I like to rely on for fantasy hockey. So that said, a couple of these guys are putting some points on the board, right? Jake DeBrusk has 3 points in the last 5. Evander Kane, 3 points in the last 5. Connor Garland, the best of the bunch, with 4 points in the last 5. Marco Rossi has 1 assist in his last 5 games, but big time minutes. He's playing over 20 minutes, the best of the bunch. So I do like Marco Rossi as a player. I mean, he's coming back off of an injury. I think this is a guy that could pace for 60 points rest of season once he kind of gets going here. And you got Brock Besser, definitely a player I love. I've talked about him before, even in a buy low section. I think that has become sort of a stay low. Just what I'm seeing out there with Brock Besser, he's kind of listless, and it just hasn't been good. I'd be surprised if he wasn't dealing with an injury. Maybe it's a mental situation. He's pissed off about Quinn Hughes leaving, and maybe just the state of the team in general. But yeah, it hasn't been great for Besser, and I'm not really thinking that he's going to be anything more than a 20-goal, 20-assist guy moving forward, at least with this season. That's a guy that does have obviously 70-point potential in the right situation. So if I had to, maybe rank the Canucks players, I'd go Garland, Rossi, DeBrusk, Kane, Besser. Book it. That's how we're getting to biz. And then lastly, I want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. Check and see if Noah Hannifin's available, 51% out there on Yahoo. So you got power play 1 performer on a pretty damn good power play, generating a lot of chances. So check that out. You also got Braden McNabb as your beefer option if you need hits and blocks. He does that for Vegas. And then in terms of forward streamers, you got Ivan Barbashev, Braden Bowman, and Brett Howden. They're all so-so to me. Nothing really standing out among any of those players. Barbashev, the underlying metrics aren't great, but he's a guy that's shown out historically in things like zone entries that lead to chances, right? Chance assists, shot assists. He does that. He does that really well, and he usually plays on a pretty good line. right now with Jack Eichel out, Barbashev's playing with Marner and Mark Stone. And that's pretty nice, right? Like, he's still going to be able to do what he does. He has a good peripheral floor with hits. I think Barbashev is the belle of the ball if you're going Vegas. Braden Bowman's down on line 3 right now. That time that he had with power play 1, that's over. So, I think we move on from him. But, it's a good data point, just that's a player that can do stuff there. Let's move on just to the last section here. We got 4 teams that play 3 games with 2 off nights. They are Dallas, New York Islanders, Seattle, and Toronto. I want to talk really briefly on some of these teams here. Starting in Dallas Stars don't play until Wednesday. So they play Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So that's 3 games. You might be able to get them in on all 3 games. So that's definitely an option. Like if you go with a back-to-back team like Carolina or something, or Vancouver, and then move into a Dallas player, I think that's a really nice thing. You're still getting those 5 games from 2 moves, right? If you can get him in on the busy nights. So starting in Dallas, we got Matt Duchene. Was that Duchene? It was Duchene. Duchene's on the 3rd line. What the hell's going on? It's not the Duchene that we know and love. Right now it's Matt Duchene centering the 3rd line, and he's on power play 2. So I've had lots of questions about Matt Duchene. I don't think that the outlook is great, to be honest, unless he's moved up the lineup. So I would sort of treat him as a 50 to 55 point player moving forward. That still has value. This is still a really elite offensive player, a detail-oriented player, but he's not getting the deployment needed to kind of really hit with that. So take that for what it's worth. If he gets on power play 1, it's lights out. I think we're looking at 70-point Duchene. Jamie Benn, this is just a bizarre player. 5 points in the last 5 games, playing, just over 12 minutes. 25th overall in shots on goal per 60 over that time. 40th overall in individual expected goals per 60. What the hell? And of course, he's pacing for 60 points again on the year, averaging under 13 minutes a night. He's really making it work. Like it's not a silly move to pick up Jamie Benn. It's just at some point it's going to have to stop. It's going to have to stop Jamie Benn, but he's just really efficient, and he's evolved his game into a very, he knows his role and he does it really well. So, I can't talk Yang on the man. I think Ben is a viable option, especially like I said, he's got 5 points in the last 5 games. So I just don't like the ice time, and I don't like rostering guys that have the potential to have like a 10-minute night. That show ain't no good to me. But he's making it work. And then we got Esa Lindell, 5 assists in the last 5 games. Really nice stuff for Lindell. I had a conversation with someone who I'd like to openly apologize to. I don't remember who it was, but someone's like, I need 2 defensemen. And it was like 5 guys, and they were all kind of Lindell caliber. And I made my 2 picks, and Lindell wasn't one of them. He's like, and this person wanted to pick Lindell. I'm like, I just don't see it, right? And that's when he goes on this 5-game heater. So apologies to you. If you were the person, I'll even check my DMs and apologize in person. But yeah, you can't win them all. And Lindell's really been getting to biz here. So the metrics don't really show out, though. I mean, amongst defensemen, he's 172nd in shots on goal per 60, 195th in individual expected goals per 60. That's not great, right? But, he's putting some points on the board. So what are you going to do? He's pacing for 37 points, too. Jeez. I'm not interested. I'm still not interested. But anyways, he's out there. So, yeah, those are your players there. I think I'd rank them Duchene, Lindell, Ben. I don't care. All right, that's what I'm doing. New York Islanders. We got to talk about the ass man. Oh, yeah, that proctologist, Emil Heineman. Power play 1 for the New York Islanders. Emil Heineman, he's out there. Guys like Jonathan Drouin is out there. Callum Ritchie should be out there. That's who's on power play 1 currently on Long Island. So I think you prioritize Heineman. He's been great, even though it's 2 goals in the past 5, nothing crazy. Minutes are good, though, and the periffs are insane. This guy hits like a truck. He hits with volume. So, yeah, I think this guy's probably going to be on some rosters here rest of season, especially if he can hold this deployment. So I like Hyman there. Drouin would be next, then Callum Ritchie, all power play 1 options. Then you got, kind of the tier down. You got Anders Lee, JGP, and Ryan Pulak as your D option. he's going to be more the kind of peripheral streamer, right? He's not really going to get any points. But that's how I'm going there with the Islanders. Anders Lee, really not a player I'm interested in unless he's on power play 1. And that said, 4 points in the last 5 for Anders Lee. Kind of pulling a Jamie Benn out here. But, I have to be consistent, right? I'm not saying don't pick these guys up. But when it's based in massive efficiency and, they're not getting the ice time or the deployment needed, like the opportunity, it's going to fall off at some point, right? This is not sustainable. So, take it for what it's worth. Let's talk about Seattle, the stream team. The Kraken have been released. Their whole power play 1 should basically be available out there on the wire. So that power play 1 currently, Chandler Stevenson, Eli Tolvanen, Jordan Eberle, Matty Beniers, and Riker Evans, right? Depending on Vince Dunn's status there, they're all power play 1. And I think you could do a lot worse, right? Like Eli Tolvanen, geez, this guy's been awesome. Of course, Nate has him for the head-to-head streamer deathmatch this week, but he's got 7 points in his last 5 games. The ice time is really the piece that I'm loving. Averaging right over 19 minutes average time on ice and power play 1. So this is great. This is exactly what we want to see. It's not a guy that drives play, but it's a guy that gets into position. He's got a good shot, good board battles, nice physical player. And yeah, it's working. Whatever he's doing out there, he's getting that top 6 deployment and power play 1. And it's nice to see. So I think Tolvanen is probably your main ad from Seattle if you're going to go there. Either Tolvanen or Jordan Eberle, who has also been pretty good, especially in the goal scoring department. 4 goals in the last 5 games. Really nice to see. Then I'd go Matty Beniers. Beniers is not really he's not getting the puck luck. He's got 3 assists in the last 5. Excuse me. But the individual expected goals per 60, 49th overall, really nice stuff. Under the hood, Matty Beniers is doing all the right things. He's just not converting. So I definitely want to, shout that man out. He's looking really good out there, especially over the last 2 weeks. And then Chandler Stevenson, I'm never going to recommend the man, but 5 points in the last 5 games, averaging 20 and a half minutes. Because when you have Chandler Stevenson on your team, you should feed him 20 and a half minutes every single night. What are you doing? Mr. Lambert, please make it make sense. But yeah, in terms of his kind of influence on the game, he really doesn't have any, right? He's just at the end of passes, putting the biscuit in the basket. I mean, defensively, he's not even really doing much there. It's just it's kind of a mystery, Chandler Stevenson, but he's getting the job done right now, and that's fine. And then Adam Larson, you could grab on Seattle if you want to get a B for option. He hits and blocks pretty darn well. All right. Last team here, I want to talk about Toronto. Couple options: OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and I was going to say Brian McCabe, Jake McCabe. Both players, I think, you could probably find better options out there. I'd rather go with Riker Evans, honestly, if you're going to go for a short-term stream. He's getting power play 1 currently. So, I'll leave it at that. I don't think OEL or McCabe are players that I'm super interested in. McCabe, if you're in a bangers league, I think he can definitely do that. Before I move on from this, I think there are a bunch of teams that play 4 games with 1 off night, and a lot of their players are going to be viable. So you're looking at Colorado, Columbus, Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, Washington, and Winnipeg. They all play 4 games with 1 off night. All right. And there you go. Again, if you're over on YouTube, check out Frozen Tools. I'm showing it on the screen right now. That's the best way to get the biz with your lineups. All right. Let's talk really quickly about the Apples and Ginos Patreon. You can get in there. Link is in the description. Supporter tier is $2 a month. That gets you APL eligibility. That's the Apples and Ginos Patron League. Obviously, we're in full swing here. We have had a couple players drop out, though. So if you get in on that tier, you can get in on a wait list and pick up a team if someone drops out. That allows you to have a better tiering maybe come next year. So something to think about. The real value is the Apples tier, which is $8 a month. You get APL eligibility. You get access to patron-only Discord channels. In our Discord, you get access to patron-only live shows where Nate, he gets the biz. I did one. Nate did one. I'm going to be doing one next month, I think. You also get the show notes, including weekly ad targets to this show right here. And then you also get access to the Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool, which I'm showing on the screen right now. You can see Jackson Blake's last 5 games. This is something that I use every time. If I'm making any decisions on players, I'm using the Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool. Really, really good stuff. So you get access to that at the $8 level. Okay, let's move on. Now we got to talk about the dream streams, the best players to stream based on schedule, right? And these are ranked by me this time. So we're talking the best players to stream for points. Number 1, Jackson Blake, I think is a pretty easy option. Getting the 5 games in there, power play 1. What's not to like? This is already a player I was interested in. Number 2, I've got Matt Zuccarello. And, Minnesota has 4 games with 1 off night. So, they're not getting the off nights there that you need. But they are this is a player that should be making your roster anyway. He's only 19% rostered. That's crazy stuff. He's on power play 1 with Cap and Quinn Hughes and Boldy, Matt Zuccarello, and he's in the top 6. So it makes no sense that he's 90% rostered. I think he should be making your lineup anyway. So I've got him as number 2. Logan Stankoven at number 3. Again, I talked about his top 6 deployment. Anton Lundell at 4. I put Anthony Mantha at number 5 here. He's got that power play 1. I like him a little bit better just because I like the Pittsburgh power play better than some of the players I've got underneath him here. Jordan Staal at number 6. He's power play 1. He would be much lower, but he gets that extra game. So, yeah, with power play 1, if he has it for all 5 games, that he could really do something for you. Then I've got Zach Bolduc at number 7, power play 1 from Montreal. Connor Garland, Jake DeBrusk is a little grouping there. And then Dawson Mercer at number 10. It's kind of, he's got 3 assists in the last 5 games. I think Jersey's going to be a lot better moving forward. So, I've got Dawson Mercer there at number 10. Best for hits, ranked by me. I've got Sean Walker at number 1, Jordan Staal at number 2. Now, they aren't the best hitters, but you get that extra game, right? That's why I've ranked them higher than the other players here. So Sean Walker, Jordan Staal. At number 3, I've got Connor Clifton on Pittsburgh. Colton Dock from Chicago at number 4. Number 5, Jeremy Lozon for Vegas. Number 6, AJ Greer for Florida. And number 7, Keandre Miller with the 5 games as well. Yeah, he's going to chip away and get you some hits there. Best for blocks, I've got Sean Walker at number 1 again. I think if you're in a category league, Sean Walker is a player that you should probably have for this upcoming 5-game week, as long as you can get at least 4 games in. If you can get 4 games in of Sean Walker, he's gonna do better than a lot of the guys lower in the in this list here. So Sean Walker at number 1 for blocks. Number 2, Brett Pesci. Reminds me of Joe Pesci, right? Home Alone, just watched it with the kids, right? Brett Pesci from New Jersey. He's back. You got Mike Matheson, the professor, at number 3. Braden McNabb, number 4. Number 5, Jonas Brodin. You're getting 4 games of him. And number 6, Keandre Miller as well, again, with the 5. So I do really like Sean Walker. I like Keandre Miller. I think both those players with the 5 games are definitely going to be viable. So there you go. I want to move over to the next section called Hold Me. These are the players you want to hold. These are the players that are 50% rostered and under that are guys that should probably be on a roster, right? They should be rostered higher than 50%. These are guys that can do stuff for you for the rest of the season. And, we got Patrick Kane at number 1 again. This is crazy. I mean, what do we need to do? I know he's been injured, but still, do you not have IR plus? Throw him on IR plus when he's healthy. You get him back in the lineup. This is an elite stash for you. Detroit's power play is amazing. He's on it. He's a great play driver and offense generator, and even at his older age here. So 42% makes no sense. Can we get him over 50%? Is that something we can do? See what you can do. All right. I think this is a guy you got to have on your team. I got him in 2 spots. What are we doing? Josh Norris as well, I've got at my number 2. He's 34% rostered. I think that needs to be a lot higher. This is a guy that's going to pace 60 to 70 points rest of season. Book it if he can stay healthy, right? We know the issues there. Matt Zuccarello at number 3. He's 19% rostered. This really makes no sense to me. I don't know how it's even possible. So get Matt Zuccarello in your life at this point, and do it now, right? If he's out there, you got to have him on your squad. He's better than the worst player on your team. There's no question. I've got Anton Lundell at number 4. Adam Fantilli at number 5. You can maybe switch those guys. I do like Adam Fantilli a lot. But Anton Lundell has really kind of carved out a nice little role here for himself. I think the ceiling for Adam Fantilli is a lot higher, though. Gabe Landeskog I've got at number 6. He's still getting top 6 power play 1 currently, which is a great place to be, even though Colorado's power play is not good. Again, disclaimer, folks, Colorado Avalanche, their power play, it's not good. It's 29th overall in the entire league in conversion rate, which is absolutely insane. But I got to keep beating that drum and let everybody know that, it's not the place to be at this point. So just because Landy has power play 1 doesn't mean it's blast off time, right? Although it should be, right? And hopefully it will be here soon. Number 6, we got Will Cooley. Number 7, William Eklund. Will Cooley, I just want to quickly talk on him. He's back and forth off power play 1 there in New York, but it doesn't matter. He's top 6, and he's really been doing stuff out there, and you get that peripheral floor. He's been great this season. Really underrated player. I like Will Cooley a lot. Again, number 8, William Eklund. Number 9, Beckett Seneca. I still really like that line with Cutter Gauthier and Mason McTavish. I think that line is good to go, and if they stay together this year, we're going to see Beckett Seneca in the Calder conversation. Chris Kreider sticking with Anaheim, number 10. Dmitry Voronkov. Shane Pinto, the Pinto Bean. Brock Besser next. Eli Tolvanen makes this list now at number 14. Josh Doan at 15. Jared McCann at 16, even though he's on the IR. I still think that's a player that's going to do something when he comes back. Sub 20%, we're looking at Matt Zuccarello, obviously. Jackson Blake at 11%. Yeah, this is a guy that, is going to have some nice run here with Jarvis out. I think Jackson Blake is one of the main benefactors of that. Ryan Leonard at 19%. He's, does he get power play 1? What does his deployment look like with Wilson back in the lineup? That's something we need to see. Jordan Eberle, 17%. Marco Rossi, 18%. Jake Neighbors, 17%. That rounds out the sub 20%. And then sub 10%, Luke Evangelista. Nate's talked about this guy a lot. I've talked about him in the offseason as a player of interest. He's really doing stuff out there. You'd love to see it. Evangelista, 2 points in the last 5, but metrics are starting to go. 35th overall in shots on goal per 60. On ice numbers are really good as well. So get some Evangelista in your life. Andre Burakovsky is my number 2 there. I put Colin Graf and Igor Cheryshnov. What is his name? Chernyshov. They're both line 1 with Macklin Celebrini right now. And that line is getting the biz. They look really good. So you got to keep an eye on those players, right? Colin Graf has already kind of put up some good numbers. And I did mention it was based off of big efficiency, but Chernyshov. I'm gonna Google that later, folks. Don't worry. He's looking really good, and he's only 1% rostered, right? 3 assists in 4 games. The numbers are actually decent. He's 41st overall in shots on goal per 60, 26th overall in individual scoring chances 4 per 60. This guy's going to be a player, right? And Ryan Warsofsky said as much, right? Is this guy sticking around here? He's like, yep. So, that's a guy we should definitely keep our eye on, put him on the watch list. And then Oliver Bjorkstrand, 7% rostered, still power play 1. So I like that. Let's talk about defensemen here really quick. A couple guys that graduated the Hold Me segment here. Zeev Buium is 54%. Matthias Ekholm, 53%. Congratulations. We also have, let's look at these long-term plays on defense. We got Filip Hronek out here as my number 1. This is a guy that, I think we're treating as kind of like a Devin Taves or like a kind of a secondary option, like a 3rd, 4th, or 5th defenseman. But I do think Hronek's going to have some value. I think that he's going to get a ton of ice time, and he's going to put up a few points here and there. So you got Hronek. I got Mike Matheson, Drew Doughty as my number 3. He's power play 1 currently, but it's a horrific power play. But I do think Doughty can still bring some value to your team here. Travis Sanheim at number 4. The Klingon, John Klingberg at 34%. At number 5, Chris Letang. And then Brant Clark round out those plays there. Sub 20% on defense. Bo Byram. Olin Zellweger. Really nice offensive numbers still. Sam Malinsky. This guy's awesome, man. Sam Malinsky's a guy that Louis Boulay and I kind of talked on briefly in the offseason, and it's just a guy I'm interested in, right? I want to see how he does, kind of in the same mold of like a Nick Blankenberg or Olin Zellweger, like a very offensive player that what would happen if he got more opportunity, right? He's probably not going to get it there in Colorado, but he's doing enough right now. 14% rostered. I like Sam Malinsky. Sean Dursey, number 4. Artemilev Shunov, number 5. Jamie Drysdale, Nick Blankenberg, and Riker Evans. Round that out, the top 8. Let's look into the long-term plays for goalies. Number 1, Dan Vladar. I think with the way Philly's playing right now, yeah, this guy's absolutely viable. He's getting the majority of starts there. And Tocchet's got him humming. Looking pretty darn good. So, yeah, get some Vladar in your life. We got John Gibson for Detroit. He's sort of taking over the number 1 there. Jet Greaves taking over the number 1 in Columbus. And number 4, still got the Vegas tandem, right? Schmid or Carter Hart. Pick your poison. I don't know. No one's really taking the reins there. Number 5, you got Jacob Fowler. He's 28% rostered. I think I still need to see a little bit more in terms of how they're going to deploy those players. But I like what I've seen from Jacob Fowler. And then I threw Stuart Skinner on here as well. I think he is going to be the number 1 there. But, yeah, it's going to be – it hasn't been a good start for Stuart Skinner there, as expected. So I'm not – my expectations are pretty low. Sub 25% rostered there for goalies. I think Connor Ingram, 18%. I'm interested. I'm very interested. I picked him up in 2 spots. I think the Oilers want to see what they have here, right? Because of Tristan Jarry, like if they can roll with Connor Ingram and he can get hot, like we've seen this player be very good in the NHL, put up some good adjusted save numbers, right? Like he's done the thing, right? He just has struggled a lot since that point. So this is why they picked him up, and now he's getting a chance to show what he can do, and I think he's going to get some run until Jarry comes back. Then they'll have a decision to make. So I like Ingram. Joel Hofer, 13%. I put him here as well. Started 8 of the last 13 games. Pretty damn nice. I think he's kind of taken the role from Jordan Binnington there. St. Louis has been pretty rough, but I don't know. If you need a volume starter, I think we got Joel Hofer here at this point. All right. But that's it for the Hold Me section. We got to talk about the head-to-head streamer Deathmatch. And yeah, I'm taking it on the chin here. And the Deathmatch this season, I'm not used to it, folks. I've whooped Nate so bad the last 2 seasons. Maybe I got a bit complacent, but yeah, he's beating me right now. It's his Eli Tolvanen versus my Oliver Bjorkstrand. And he's waxing me right now. But I still have 2 games left with Bjorkstrand. Nate only has 1. So we'll see a couple power play goals for Bjorkstrand. I'll be back to biz here. So there you go. We do have new picks here for the upcoming week. Nate picks first, and he tooted right in my face, picked Jackson Blake. That's fine. I wanted to maybe go Logan Stankoven, but I decided I wanted to kind of put my money where my mouth is and take Zuccarello here at 19% rostered. I think it's a no-brainer. I'll take 4 games of Zucchini Man over Jackson Blake any day, and I feel good about that. All right? But that's it, folks. It's all we've got for this episode here. I really appreciate you sticking it out with me here. Hopefully it helped you, get a little bit better at fantasy, bring you some value. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Matt Creamer, my brother, for supplying the music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Celebrate your day. Bye for now.